Yeah, never before have you been so bummed that the podcast theme song here takes over 20 seconds because you are dying to hear from Eli Tomac on this edition of the RacerX Exhaust Podcast. I am Jason Weigandt. I just recorded this podcast at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. That was the earliest we could talk to Eli Tomac about the big move from Monster Energy Kawasaki to Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha, because October 1st is the first day he can talk about it. The press release from Yamaha is out. The switch is official, and you want to hear from Eli, I'm sure. So let me just throw the quick shout out to the sponsors. Yoshimura, you know them, you love them, Yoshimura-RD.com. They've got the all-new RS12 exhaust system. Looks cool, sounds cool, adds power, whether you're a Yamaha guy or a Kawi guy, or a Suzuki guy, or a Honda guy, or a KTM, or a Gas, or a Husqvarna guy. They've got an RS12 exhaust system for you. So go to Yoshimura-RD.com. OnX Maps, always on board with the show as well. 500,000 plus miles of trails mapped out. Let's say you live out in the hinterlands of Colorado, and you like dirt bikes and mountain bikes, and you're looking for places to ride them. If you're Eli Tomac, you probably know those trails like the back of your hand. But if you're not, you could go to onxmaps.com or OnX Off-Road in the App Store, download the app, and you get access to the 500,000 miles of trails. That includes public and private lands. You can drop notes in there for others. There are notes that have been left for you that you can read so you know where to go with the #1 off-road GPS app, OnX Maps. And finally, Cardo Systems here with us as well. Go to cardosystems.com. Rider to rider, coach to coach, rider to mechanic, mechanic to rider. This is the pro's choice. Go to cardosystems.com, and we'll give you 15% off your order. Type in RX, capital R, capital X 15 in the checkout, and follow Cardo on all social media platforms at Cardo Systems. Now let's get to it. Eli Tomac, fresh this morning. Let's, honestly, this is the first question. Is it a relief to finally be able to talk to the media openly? Because you've had to dance quite the dance over the last couple months. Is it actually a relief to finally just be able to get this monkey off your back and talk about it?
Yes. At the same time, though, like my time with Kawasaki ended on a good note. So, we can chat about it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go into any crazy detail about why I'm with Yamaha now and why I made that switch.
Gotcha. You're just moving on. Well, it's funny. Kawi announced, early in May, hey, you guys aren't going to come back together. And then the first couple motos of the summer weren't good. And I think that led people to think like, oh, is there like a problem there? But clearly by the end of the year, and then they celebrate you on social, they gave you a cool prize at the end of the year. It seemed like things did end well for you guys.
Yes, it did. Like on a professional level, it ended very well.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's just basically it's just like on a business level, right? Like if you want to move on, you kind of have to just make that decision on your own and move on and try to do what's best for yourself. As a racer, our careers are very short, and I felt like making the move would maybe even accelerate my career to another level. So some people might think that's a little bit crazy at this point in time, but I didn't feel like I was ready to just settle for anything, so basically came down to not settling and wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, so you and Kawi, you weren't like done. Like, did you have an option? You could have just returned there. It wasn't like they turned their back on you and you turned their back on them. You just wanted to explore a different option, or did you not have an option? Okay, you could have stayed if you wanted. Yep.
Yes, I mean we had we had an offer on the table, so I don't know how much farther into that I can go, but yes, like it was basically, hey, if you want to stay, you can stay, and if not, obviously, then it's at that point it's your choice to go elsewhere. So that's how it went.
honestly, I don't think you need to explain much more. Like, I think that shows, like, you're making the decision not because your hand was forced. You wanted to make this decision. So is there something about that team or even just a fresh start with a different team regardless that was interesting to you? Because obviously you didn't have to leave, but you chose to leave. Yep.
Yes. It was basically coming down to, hey, I felt like there were some areas to where I could be, just better. So,
okay.
Once again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but,
okay. Well, look, this is a performance decision. It's not a money decision. It's not I didn't have anywhere else to go decision. This is a performance decision on your part.
Yep. It's purely a performance decision, and basically, as a racer and athlete, being like, hey, do I feel like there's something out there that I could, potentially, do better for myself racing and help me, try to win more races. I mean, I obviously still have to prove that, but that was the decision. It wasn't a monetary decision. It wasn't like Cowie said, hey, we don't have anything for you. See you later. So that was it.
Yeah, I think that says a lot. Now, the strange thing is, though, when you're making this decision, this is essentially a first-year team in the 450 class. And at the time, now it looks good after outdoors and Ferrandis and everybody did well. It looks risky on the outside. What made you comfortable with it, with a team that didn't have at that time much of a track record?
Yes, at that time, I would say it looked like a big roll of the dice.
Yep.
But I think with the motorcycles nowadays, if you have the right team in place, you can make a lot of things work in a lot of different ways. So, as a racer, you look at the team, and then you do have to look at the base you're working off. But in our league, now you can fit things to you. You can do a lot of things to the motorcycle to fit it to you. So, from that aspect, I feel like they have the ability to get that done. I'm like, hey, can these guys make something fit for me? And I'm like, I think they can do it. So that's why I took that gamble.
Hey, when you started to see Ferrandis and even Plessinger putting in really good rides, you're literally racing against them. Did that enter your mind at all? Did it give you a little sense of relief or clarity of like, yeah, okay, this is what I thought might happen, and now I'm actually seeing it? Did that help a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, it's at least it's like, hey, I know they're they can make this happen. It can actually be done. So that was really cool to see. Really cool, and it's great to see, and I hope we can do that in both Supercross and Motocross.
Well, that's the thing. It is still their first year. So do you get the sense that, hey, okay, we did good outdoors, but we're still just getting started. We're still learning. Like, I get that from talking to them, that they were almost surprised to be this good this early. They know it's a bit of a process. So do you think there's even more to gain as they get more experience in this class?
Oh, yes. Once again, and it's good they have a year with that platform working on it, so that's going to be a good head start for us. It's always tough when you come, straight off of a brand new base, so they've had a year to really dial it in and make improvements. I know down the road we'll get it even better and better. So.
Hey, real quick, Weege here. Just a shout out to RacerX, the magazine, which is not just in print. You can read everything in the magazine online, and everything in the magazine is different than the stuff we put on the website. But you do have to be a subscriber to the magazine to read all the magazine stories on the website. Got it? Now, the good news is it only costs $30 a year to subscribe. Then you get access to everything in every issue online, which means you can read it on your phone or on your computer. And we'll send you the magazine, old school style, in the mail. We'll send you all the stickers. We give out a sticker at each round of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. We've collected one of each for all 12 rounds. We'll send you those stickers. But the best part is you will be entered into a contest to win a set of Method wheels and Maxxis tires. That's a $2,500 combination. Method wheels, lighter, stronger, faster, and Maxxis tires, the Razor AT, the perfect tire for SUVs, for trucks, even street cars and sport utility vehicles. So you get impeccable on-road qualities with the ability to tackle off-road conditions. You marry those Maxxis tires with some Method wheels, and you've got one heck of a look that performs well as well, and we'll pick one new subscriber to win that package. So go to racerxonline.com/Weege and then enter to subscribe, because then I will get the credit for getting new subscribers. All right, let's turn it back to Eli. What's cool about this is sometimes when someone goes for, as they call it, the change of scenery, it's like, oh, they're trying to relight the fire. But it doesn't sound like for you, you said this over and over, you want it just as bad, you're trying just as bad. This wasn't like, I'm feeling kind of blah, and I just need something to be excited about. It doesn't seem like that was like, I think people might have thought that's why, but it doesn't seem like that's why you're doing it. Like, you were motivated either way.
No, that was not the reason for it at all.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I've won everything that's that can be won.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could say donations I haven't won, but for our American Series, yes. And it's like, when I'm this old, it's like I didn't need to really prove anything. I just and it wasn't the move just for change of scenery. It was like, what do I think is going to give me a better opportunity at winning on the weekend, and can I keep improving what I have, and that's what it came down to. Is like I felt like I was just getting a little bit stuck with what I had, but not like in a way that where we were like fighting over it or anything. Mm-hmm. But just hey, I'm going to make this move because I think I can maybe win races easier here. So.
Plus, do you get to the point, if you just stay where you are, where you're always going to wonder, like, let's say you rode out to the end of your career at Cowie, which obviously would have been nice and Cinderella story, but would you always be wondering, like, I wonder what would have happened if I had tried something? Yes,
that's another thing that was right on my mind was, we all talked about it. I'm just like, hey, I have the opportunity to try this, and I don't want that question in the back of my mind. Could I have won even more races, done it in an easier way? And that's those were the conversations that were had, and it's a gamble on my part either way you look at it. But I took the chance.
Yeah, I heard you like on DMXS a few weeks ago. Like, it was tough. Like you were saying, these were tough decisions. These are grown-up decisions to make.
Yeah, and it's because you build a relationship with your team. Mm-hmm. So you get to know people on a personal level, and that's what's really hard, and because nothing really ended badly on a personal level. So that's where, when that mixes with business, it gets really tough. So, but then I always look back, I'm like, hey, if I wasn't performing, you'd get the boot anyway. You have to do what's best for you at this point in time. As an athlete, you only have X amount of years to perform, and I have to take the chance now. Yeah,
they say loyalty goes both ways, right? Exactly.
It really goes both ways. Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt this podcast and frustrate you one more time to bring another shout out to our sponsors, Yoshimura-RD.com. I mentioned the RS12 exhaust system available for Cowies, Yamahas, 250s, 450s, a variety of brands. But if you're a street bike guy, Yoshimura, you could argue, has an even longer heritage there. Why? Well, it actually makes sense, right? Because four-stroke street bikes were around earlier on the curve than four-stroke motocross bikes. So the heritage of Yoshimura really goes way, way back to road racing and street bikes, even before the motocross side. And that includes the legendary, like Yoshimura, Suzuki, all the success they had in road racing. But even non-road racing type bikes, they love the Honda Grom, the Honda Monkey, the little bikes like that. So check that out at Yoshimura-RD.com. Now, whether you're riding on the street or the dirt, a Cardo Systems communicator could really help. Street bike guys, you can actually talk to each other while riding. But more importantly now, you can take Bluetooth calls while you're riding on the street. So that's a huge thing now, obviously, be able to take calls while you're commuting to work or just riding on the road. And I can tell you from personal experience, having conversations with people with Cardo Systems, it works. So if you ride on the road, you definitely want one. If you ride off-road, it's cool to be able to communicate with your buddies on trails, or if you have a coach or someone you're riding with, you can say, hey, I'm going to do this, or you should do that while you're riding. Awesome. Go to cardosystems.com, and don't forget the RX15 in the checkout code to save 15%. And then there's OnX Maps, onxmaps.com, or OnX Off-Road in the App Store. 500,000 miles of trails mapped out for your use. Back to Eli. Hey, we know that Ricky Gilmore, he's a really cool guy, is over there. I know you used to work with him. Are you excited about that? Was that a factor? Is that just a coincidence he happens to be over there? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would assume that that's a big part. Was that a part of it?
Yes, that's a part of it.
Yep.
When you look at the whole, I'm not just going to go somewhere where I don't know anyone and I'm just winging it. I mean, you have to dissect the whole team that way, and is it going to work? And yes, we work very well together. We were together in the Geico Honda days, and we communicate very well, and it's very important to be able to talk kind of on the same tune as each other with a rider and a suspension guy, so and chassis guy and all that. So it just makes things more fluid when you're looking for something.
That's cool. All right, I only got two more things here. Does anything else in your program change? Like they're moving a shop to Florida, et cetera, et cetera. Are you doing anything different yourself, or are you just doing your normal stuff in Colorado and whatnot?
Well, our test days will be in Florida, so I'm actually really looking forward to that, just because we get on different soil and different tracks. So yes, I will spend time in Florida. But home base is Colorado for me.
Hey, have you ever really done that? Is this a kind of new thing, this Florida deal for you?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we do is we would do our testing in California. So now instead of doing testing in California, we're going to do it in Florida.
Okay. Yeah. So I know you weren't Colorado 12 months a year, but it is different. Like you never motoed down and tested in Florida.
No,
that's cool.
I've never motoed down at what used to be RC's. Well, I have spent a little bit of time there, but not in any recent memory there.
My final thing, you and your dad really always talked about, not doing too much too soon when you're really young, and hopefully that avoids burnout. So here we are. Like you've been asked this a million times, like guys at your level usually start thinking about retiring. Here you are, as motivated as ever. Do you think that's why? Or is it just lucked out that it worked this way? Or do you think like, we held back a little bit when I was 10, and that's why I'm still fired up in my late 20s?
It's all of those, what you just said.
Yep.
Yes, early burnout can be a factor, but at the end of the day, you have to love what you're doing, and that's it. Period. Just love what you're doing. I still look at motocross riding and being on a motorcycle is my kind of my escape and what I still love to do. So I'm like, hey, I should just keep racing. I know it's dangerous, and that's why some guys hang it up too.
Yep.
But I don't, I still have that, that burn for that, to go for those checkered flags and those wins, when I line up every weekend. So that's why I'm still racing.
That's awesome. All right, that's perfect. Get back to dad duty. Glad you got to tell your side, and hopefully this helps relieve everybody a little bit. Maybe it's a little easier on you. Maybe. All right, always good talking to you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
All right, see you.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. Eli Tomac, never a man of many words, but I will say this. He does always come through with media obligations. He didn't have to do this interview today. I reached out to Yamaha, and they were able to arrange it quickly. And, 9 a.m., the day that the press release came out, his time. I really can't complain about that. And Eli does always attend the press conferences, even when he's having a bad year or doesn't have results that he probably wants to talk about. He does do all of his media obligations. He's not the most outgoing guy for certain, and I think what that means is we don't see his actual enjoyment of the sport. He has to keep reminding everybody how much he loves it, how motivated he is still, and look, he's gone way beyond the point where a lot of riders at his level, where they still have the fire. He still has it. A lot of riders at his level do not at this point in their career. So the love of competition and motocross and riding motorcycles is probably a little bit underappreciated from Tomac because he doesn't have that outgoing personality. A lot of it, I'd say, comes from social media. If someone posts 5 times a week whip photos of how much they just love riding, that tends to sink in. Well, Tomac doesn't do that. And he's never advertising, I'm just having fun, I'm having the greatest time ever. He doesn't do any of that stuff. You just got to know that it's there. And the best part about this is he wasn't even using this team switch, apparently, to light the flame or relight the flame. He doesn't even think that's a problem. And I know that a lot of people are extrapolating he has kids, and, he has another child just actually, a new baby, and another one, Liv, I think, is only just over a year old. So I think a lot of people start making assumptions that, once babies come, they don't want it as badly, they don't ride as aggressively out on the racetrack. I've never really bought into that kind of thing because I think we've seen riders win races with kids, without kids. I just think that's very simpleton thinking to try to connect those dots. I'd say more so you're going to see a guy drop off just because they've dealt with the pressure for so long that whether they had kids or not, they just start to lose that edge. Or maybe they've been hurt a lot and they start to lose that edge. I don't think the kids thing is like an instant light switch. Anyway, Tomac has had to remind people over and over this last year plus that he hasn't been winning at his old rate, that is not it. He's not any less motivated. He's not any less into it. I think, again, we all assumed, maybe he's making the team switch to get fired up, to get motivated. No, he's not having any of that. Not doing it for the change of scenery. It sounds like he just believes that there's something about Star Racing where that team can give him a motorcycle that he can perform better. And, okay, everyone's going to say the right thing when they have a new signing going into the new season. We know this. Everybody's always faster at the test track and never been better. But I don't feel like Eli's a guy that really doesn't just tell it pretty straight. I don't think this is PR here. I think he must really believe it, especially if he had an offer on the table with Kawasaki. He didn't have to leave the old team. So he must think there's something to it. And in May, that probably sounded crazy. And here we are now watching Dylan Ferrandis' performance and how much Aaron Plessinger stepped up, taking the same Yamaha platform and how much better he got from when it was a factory team to the Star team. It does give some credibility to when Eli says, the base platform does matter, yes, but the team around you can build whatever you need if it's the right team. So I'm going to just give him a pass and say, if that's what he said, we're tempted to believe him. Obviously, a lot of the stuff you hear in the offseason is hype and hyperbole. I don't think this is. I think there's substance to this. Now, pressure's going to be on Eli to prove himself right. And racing's never easy. He could be exactly as fast and good or even a little bit better than he used to be. But if someone else steps up, maybe he still doesn't win at the old rate, and we're going to say it's the bike, and maybe that's not even it, right? You're not just on the track by yourself. You have to beat other people who are also trying to get better all the time. So we'll never have the perfect comparison, but he certainly seems confident that this is a performance thing. It is not I didn't have anywhere else to go, and they were throwing a bunch of money at me thing. And now that we've seen how quickly Star turned this Yamaha 450 program around, like I said, there's a little bit of credibility there. Does this not add so much more excitement? How much better is it that Eli Tomac is coming in wanting to win as opposed to Eli Tomac just retiring, which is exactly what Villopoto and Dunge did in this situation. And honestly, Ricky Carmichael as well. So this is what we're getting. We're getting Eli Tomac, who, by the way, has not suffered many injuries in his career. So from that standpoint, he's not super beat up. Mentally, he seems to want it just as bad as ever. That's what he's saying. And he thinks performance-wise, this is going to be better for him. So Eli Tomac versus Cooper Webb and others for a Supercross title versus Dylan Ferrandis and others for a motocross title. Going to be interesting. Now, I know the next obvious question is, how are Ferrandis and Tomac going to get along if they're battling with each other? Certainly in the offseason, they will think of each other as chief competitors of each other. You never know if the racing will turn out that way, but certainly that would run through their mind. I'm usually not one to overhype the teammate versus teammate thing. I think that gets talked about like the 4 times teammates don't get along, we talk about, and the 400 times where it's just fine doesn't. So I usually go on the side of it'll probably be fine. I mean, we've seen how respectful and how really in awe of Eli Tomac, Dylan Ferrandis is. I don't think there'll be friction between them. They're veteran guys, but you never know. I'm sure others will be talking about that for a while. I don't really buy into teammate drama unless I see obvious signs that it's an issue. But you never know. Racing is a competitive field, but I think Star can handle it, and so can they. We'll see. All right, that's our show for this week. Thanks to Yoshimura, thanks to Cardo Systems and Onyx Maps, and really just thanks to Eli Tomac for doing this. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.